I want to talk about Cornel West, particularly in the context of him being appointed to the DNC Party Plank Platform Committee, whatever you want to call it. So he was appointed today, and along with, I think the committee is of 15 people. 5 people came from Bernie Sanders, appointed by Bernie Sanders. 6 were appointed by Hillary Clinton, and the remaining 4 were appointed by Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Bernie Sanders was amongst, not Bernie Sanders, but Cornel West was among the selection for Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders also appointed Keith Ellison, James Zogby, Bill McKibben, I'm sorry, I wrote really bad, and a Native American activist, Deborah Parker. So these are the 5 people that Bernie Sanders appointed. Hillary Clinton appointed Neera Tanden. That's the president of the Center for American Progress. That's who we were talking about tonight and getting into the conflict with Matt Brunig. She was appointed. Luis Gutierrez, Carol Browner, Elisa Reese, Paul Booth, and Wendy Sherman. Debbie Wasserman Schultz appointed Howard Berman, Barbara Lee, a representative from California, Bonnie Schaefer, and Elijah Cummins, also a representative. He is the chairman of this committee. This is the committee that's charged with creating the plank, and updating the 2016 Democratic Party plank. Some people, Elijah Cummings, for one, has already stated that he believes that the undue influence by Bernie Sanders appointees is quote unquote unusual. Right. So you're having some pushback already on the fact that Bernie Sanders has 5 appointees to this this platform committee. Some people are casting this as being a way that the Democratic Party is trying to bring unity. But, I think we might be too far gone for unity. But, fine. Get Cornel West on there, and let's see the kind of battles that actually happen. But I want to talk about this also because of the visceral backlash of Hillary Clinton supporters and Barack Obama supporters in general against Cornel West. Now, to be sure, and on your screen is going to be a picture of President Obama and Cornel West back in 2008 when Cornel West endorsed President Obama. Now, that endorsement quickly went sour and went south when, for many reasons that I think are legitimate reasons, but then there are some accusations that is some pretty petty stuff that's involved that Cornel West turned on Barack Obama. Now, I'll leave the petty mess to the people who want to be petty and just talk about, they want to minimize it to being that Cornel West did not get an invitation to the inauguration from President Obama. And therefore, Cornel West, that is the basis for which Cornel West is levying all of this critique that he has of President Obama. All right, fine. If you want to be petty and you think, maybe that's how you act. But, if you listen to the critique of Cornel West, of President Obama, you would realize that no matter how cantankerous and how bad his approach is, which I've criticized Cornel West on how he speaks to President Obama. Me personally, I don't like the way he speaks of and to President Obama, but that doesn't cloud my judgment from being able to listen to his criticism. Because if I don't care how he says it, underneath, and I'm saying me personally, but for me, I'm able to separate his acrimonious approach from what he actually said. And the critique leveled at President Obama on poverty, the critique leveled on President Obama from foreign affairs, national security, bombing, droning, his critique on President Obama on neoliberal economic the entire neoliberal economic paradigm, there is some validity to it. There is great validity to it. There's a lot that Cornel West is saying that is absolutely true, and it does 100% get lost on most people who don't like his approach. I personally don't like his approach, but that doesn't make what he's saying untrue. And I think that's something that is very difficult for people who want to be intentionally obtuse, right? If you want to just completely ignore what somebody is saying, then you will dwell on how they said it instead of what they said and the substance of what they said. Now, granted, I'm going to say this again. Cornel West actually makes it very easy to ignore what he said because of how he said it. However, if you have enough thinking digits to be able to think beyond your initial visceral response and you actually analyze his critique, then what Cornel West has been saying about President Obama has been unfortunately true. Just ask the people who have been droned to death in the Middle East. But most people, never mind, I'm gonna leave that alone. So all that to say, the appointment of Bernie Sanders of Cornel West to the DNC platform has made Hillary Clinton supporters lose their damn minds and try to reduce and erase Cornel West's brilliance and Cornel West's contribution on race matters, on poverty matters, on issues that are so important ostensibly to people who are on the left, to progressives and liberals and people who just who are not Republican, because that's really how I have to categorize it now, just people in general who are not Republican, right? Because you have such a broad spectrum who falls into that category. You're just not conservative. You're not Republicans. Scratch that. Some of y'all are conservative. You're just not Republicans. But you have people who are trying to completely erase Cornel West because he dare said something against the great and powerful Barack Obama, who I sincerely respect and admire. Don't agree with all his politics. Don't agree with a lot of things he does, but I still respect and admire. And so I just, for the life of me, am absolutely tired of this overly simplistic view of if you say anything, if you level any type of critique, measured or not, if you level a critique measured like Matt Brunig did of Joan Walsh, or you level a critique that is not measured like Cornel West did of President Obama, measured or not, you are instantly labeled as the enemy. And the question is, at what point do we stop vilifying people just because they disagree with us and we start analyzing and look at what they're saying? Because the bottom line is, once you do that and you oversimplify things and you make someone the enemy just because they disagree with you, the bottom line is you have no commitment whatsoever to truth. You only have commitment to your own personal gain and your own personal agenda. You have absolutely no concern over the substance of the conversation because you don't even want to have the damn conversation. And this is exactly the case with people who are mad at Cornel West. Yes, his response, his critique, it was not measured. Who the hell cares? Tell me the last time you actually criticized someone without occasionally going too far. But you got all these people who think they're brilliant, but they're intentionally dense, right? They're purposefully dense for the purposes of continuing what they want, their agenda, to their political gain and to their political expediency. You have people who are intentionally dense trying to marginalize somebody like Cornel West when what West has stood for consistently, longer than a lot of people have been living, has been fighting for equality, justice, economic justice, racial justice, political justice. And because he dared lay criticism at President Obama, you got people trying to explain and dismiss him. Cornel West can speak for himself, but what I'm speaking to is this propensity in Democratic circles, in people who are not Republicans, to actually behave like Rania Khalek just said, with the type of behavior that we are caricatured with by the Republican Party. If you cannot handle dissent, if you cannot handle being criticized, you have no place in power. You have no place in politics, and you need to take your little sensitive ass somewhere and sit down, because we have serious issues to tend to, and we have serious conversations that we need to have, major debates, legitimate debates where we are going to get upset. We're going to say things that you don't like. We're going to disagree vehemently. And if you want to play the victim just because I criticize and critique your policies, your positions, then you're not qualified to be in politics. Bye-bye, go home, see you later, and go play at the kids' table, because grown-ups have to have some conversations that every now and then will get heated. Every now and then we will step on each other's toes. And if you're so busy crying victim and playing the victim, then how the hell can we address the issues? Well, that's the answer to the question right there, Ben. The reality is they don't want to address the underlying issues, and they are intentionally playing this game to keep us from ever having the conversations about what President Obama has failed on, about how Democrats are using identity politics to divide us, and from ever having us to have a conversation on economic populism, but we can have a conversation about identity all day long, right? Let's talk about identity till we are blue in the face. That's perfectly fine, so long as we don't talk about economic populism. And the problem is, by the time most people are hip to that game, it's already too late and the election is over. So you have master spinners. You have masterful people who do this for a living. Like Malcolm X said, they are professional liars, and they specialize in the art of half-truths. They know exactly. Joan Walsh knows exactly what the entire hell she's doing. She knows very damn well that this election is divided based on age, far more than it's divided based on race or gender, but she can never talk about that. One, because it gives her nothing to speak about for which she could be hired and come on television, right? So there's a direct economic connection to this, right? Let's not be foolish, right? She will have nothing to write about. She won't have her easy muse. She would have to actually do some research and write something journalistic versus just writing these ridiculous puff pieces, regurgitating the same bullshit that she's been regurgitating since 2008 for Hillary Clinton. But God forbid she actually digs into the data and looks at the fact that this is not about race, this is not about gender, as much as it is about a great divide in the age of the division between the millennials and Generation Xers and the boomers. But never mind that. She doesn't want to talk about that because that takes away her muse. And then she's have to find another way to get on TV and talk about something else. Same with Joy Reid. Same with Capehart. Same with the rest of these people who are on television to keep us divided, talking about these issues that are, unfortunately, they are important. We do need to talk about identity. We do need to talk about race. We do need to talk about LGBTQ rights. We do need to talk about harassment from women. But the reality of it is that we are allowing them to stop the conversation from ever going somewhere substantive to address the underlying issue, because they benefit from the underlying issue. They benefit from this neoliberal economic paradigm. That's who's writing their checks. That's who's paying them corporate. They benefit from this corporatocracy. Corporatocracy. It's getting late. Whatever the hell. They benefit from it. Their checks come directly from corporations. Corporations that are buying advertisements on their networks and buying advertisements in their blogs. And their online websites. You know, not only corporations, but also the Democratic Party. They benefit from this plutocracy. They benefit from this two-party system that is broken, because they get billions of dollars in election year money. So I said all that to say it is indicative. And you see, it's a overall theme that is hitting on every single level, from the conversation about Cornel West and President Obama, all the way down to the conversation about Matt Bruenig and Joan Walsh and Neera Tanden. It is all about people who benefit from the economic status quo, using identity politics, feigning outrage, and being intentionally dense, pretending as though they don't understand how to have a more nuanced conversation, because they don't want to have the more nuanced conversation about the real substantive issues. They just want to pretend as though they're all victims. And at the end of the day, that keeps us from ever talking about the underlying economic problems, that if you were really concerned about intersectionality, then your intersectionality would also include poverty. But they erase away poverty, conversations on poverty, and they erase it with the meritocracy. that the people who are at the top, they worked hard enough to get to the top, and the people at the bottom, they just didn't work hard enough.